the pitch. Line drive, there it is! Into left field! Hit number 3,000! A run is scored! Musial ran first! On his way to second with a double! Holy cow!
Hank Gibson is one strike away from the no-hitter. He takes off his cap. He mops his brow. He looks in and gets the sign. He starts the windup. Here's the pitch, and it's a strike call! A no-hitter for Gibson! Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go! Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizards.
Breaking ball! Hit off the pitcher! To the third baseman! Down play! Base hit! 3,000 for a home run!
Breeze hits it in the air to center. We will see you tomorrow night.
Shooter from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss. And that's the winner. That's the winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals.
Left center, Bader, diving catch. Oh, what a play! Carpenter with a drive into left center, at the wall, gone! It's gone! Three-run homer, Carpenter! DeYoung with a drive into deep left, at the track, at the wall, gone! Cardinals have the lead. The 2-2. Fowler swings and sends the ball into the right field corner. Hayward up and over the fence. Hayward got a glove on it. But Dexter Fowler has just walked it on. Michaelis with a drive. Deep left field. First career hit. Gone! A home run. He does it in style. A two-run shot for his first major league hit. Julio to the drive. Into center. It's at the wall. Here's a 1-2 pitch. And a strikeout. Ponce de Leon, his first strikeout in the major leagues. There he goes, and Molina from his knees. Oh, my! Wow!
Hi, I'm Miles Michaelis,
This is Marshall Falk,
and you're listening
and you're listening
to The Usual Suspects.
to The Usual Suspects.
Well, what's up, guys? I'm Brad, and Aaron was here just a second ago, and now he's gone. He has completely lost the invite to the StreamYard, and I look forward to hearing back from him soon, which is fine. It's okay. We're going to talk a little bit of Cardinals baseball here, and then we will, dive into your comments. So while we're waiting for Aaron, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will pull up the socials. There's Aaron right there. Add to stream. Hey, Aaron, glad you could make it back. I was just getting ready to do the socials.
Like, as soon as I did the sharing portion, I came back, and it just, like, a bunch of red things saying, like, you've lost connection. I'm like...
Oh, no, this is a terrible time.
I had to, like, restart it, re-sign in, but I'm alive. I'm here.
It's okay. Worse things have happened. All right, so... Like I was saying, I was getting ready to do the socials. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at RangeBrad. It's down there by our name. And you can follow Aaron at AaronMSTL. We'd love for a follow for the podcast. The podcast is at Mutual Suspects. That's at Mutual_Suspects. Also, we have a Facebook page. Some of you are watching on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Mutual Suspects. Go over there, give us a like, give us a follow. Do all the Facebook social things so that you get notifications whenever we go live. And then we're also on YouTube. So those of you who are watching on Facebook, head over to our YouTube page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Mutual Suspects. Make sure you search Mutual Suspects, not Musical Suspects, because it likes to autofill, and then you will get a bunch of high school and college dance troupes doing dance routines, which is maybe more
weird.
entertaining than us, but we want the subscription and the follow on our channel. So whenever you're over there, go ahead and turn on the notifications. So whenever we do go live, you're not relying on the tweets and the sharing that we do at the beginning of our show. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Aaron has some topics he wants to talk about today. And really, whenever we get into this, one of the things is the tables have turned. The Cardinals season is way different now than the last time we came on and did a show. And the reason it's been 2 weeks since we've done a show is I got a new job, which I'm super excited about. So I am now the executive producer of the Annie Fry Show, which is live weekdays noon to 3 on 97.1 FM. So if you want to, you can follow that show as well on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Just search Annie Fry on YouTube, search Annie Fry Show on Facebook, and Annie Fry Show on Twitter. You can find it there. We stream every show, and then you can like pop in and say hi to me and be like, hey, I heard about you guys from The Usual Suspects, and then that will earn me boss points. So anyway, Aaron, give us an update. Where are we at?
Like just in life or?
No. Cardinals baseball. People don't come here to hear our life stories.
Yeah, no one cares. Yeah, I mean, the difference between like just a couple weeks ago when we last did a show and now, it's like it's such a different vibe. Because I remember the both of us were kind of like, I give up. I don't know what to do. Like it's just more mediocre baseball, and then all of a sudden it's just like every one of the players got on Twitter and saw us complaining and went, maybe we should win some ball games.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case or not, but whatever it is it seems like this team has just finally put it together. All the aspects that they had been not like we would get hitting right for a period, but then our pitching wouldn't be good and our defense wouldn't be good, and then we'd have like outstanding defense but terrible pitching and terrible hitting. And they just never put it together, and then now you see what this team can do whenever they put everything together.
And I mean, how many times, like, I remember the last time we talked, it's like, how many of those games were there that it was like, oh, this is the worst game of the season? Where it's like,
oh, yeah,
they just gave up, like, monstrous leads. Mm-hmm. And then, as of late, even during the stretch, they've had a couple games where you're like, oh, I don't know. But they held on and won.
Yeah.
Which is a huge difference maker. It helps to keep your momentum when you aren't losing those kinds of games.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always was harping on is this team has never had a signature win. And I feel like they've had a couple of those signature wins as of late. They had that extra inning game against the Mets that they fought back and won in the 11th. And then they had that game against the San Diego Padres whenever Darvish was pitching a gym. It's like, Darvish is a really good pitcher. And he doesn't need a 50% wider strike zone than what the strike zone should actually be.
It was one of, like, did you see the MLB scorecard on Twitter?
Yeah, it was awful.
Hilarious.
It was terrible.
It was like, just the way it looked like the whole time his head was just turned a little sideways because the strike zone was like this.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing.
Well, I was watching that game kind of like in and out because we were out to eat with our parents and the game was up over my left shoulder, so I turned around. I happened to turn around for the first strikeout that he punched out Tyler O'Neill on, and my dad was looking at it. We both went, "What?"
Yeah.
That ball was in the left-handed batter's box. That wasn't even close.
It's like would have hit. It's like that would have hit Tommy Edman in the knee.
Yeah. And then I saw on Twitter Pitching Ninja. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter or not.
Yeah.
He moved the strike zone over, and he's like, "You Darvish hitting the outside edge, paint." But he did it in such a way as where you could see, like, sort of see the original strike zone line was kind of lighter, and it was still there. And you're like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, like it was very bad. It said 1.77 expected runs for San Diego.
It was
atrocious.
That's both runs that San Diego had covered.
Oh my god! That's the one where O'Neill came up in like the 8th or something and hit the 2-run home run.
Yeah, it was a 2-run home run, gave them the lead 3-2, and they ended up coming back and winning that. And I don't know if you got to hear the call that that Polo.
Cardinals.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, and I forget who did the write-up. I think it might have been Zach Silver of MLB.com. But Zach Silver, if it was him, he did a write-up of all the different nicknames that Polo Ascenso has for. And I say Polo. Is it Polo or Pollo Ascenso? I don't know. Anyway, somebody correct me on that because I don't want to mispronounce his name. But he did a write-up at all the different nicknames that he has for Cardinals players, and he calls Tyler O'Neill RoboCop. And so, like, when he hit that home, he's like, RoboCop!
Yeah, so
there's so much joy and emotion. Like, not that Danny Mac and Ricky Horton do a bad job, but there's just
something different when it's got that flavor.
Oh, I know. And there's so much joy and happiness in the call, and I love it. Patty says she's wearing a Cardinals shirt today, and someone asked, someone asked what I thought about the last couple of weeks, and I started making small talk, and she said the people call them the cardiac Cardinals for a reason. Yep.
Well, yeah.
And Terry says polo means chicken, so it's probably polo. Maybe. But I know the double L is the yes sound. Pollo. So I don't know. Terry, I'm going to assign you that job. You go out and you figure out if it's Polo or Pollo Ascenso and get me the correct
tweet
pronunciation.
him. I'm sure he'll respond.
Can you respond to this and tell me how to correctly pronounce your name? So anyway, the Cardinals have won 8 games, and they've been playing not bad teams. They've been playing good teams and beating good teams, which is really interesting because, like, the Mets...
They weren't beating the bad teams.
Yeah.
It's like that concept, though, where, like, you play to your competition.
Mm-hmm.
It's like... Because just imagine where this team could be. Like, I don't think they would necessarily still be in the division race, but like the wild card race wouldn't be close if they could have just like tacked on a couple more wins against, I don't know, Detroit, Pittsburgh.
Right.
But in that same vein, though, I'm sure glad that Pittsburgh is playing spoiler and beating these other teams also now.
I do like that. And one of the other things, too, like if you stop and think about it, if they would have won those games that we were talking about earlier where they should have won and then they would like give up a 5-run lead in the 9th and come back and lose, they could be 5 or 6 games up in the second wild card spot. As a matter of fact, if they've been playing like what they did in July, if they would have done that in June, they might be in division lead competition. You know, June was
close. I mean,
horrible.
They're 11.5 back right now.
Yeah. June was awful.
That's going to be a tough mountain to climb, but like we wouldn't have been sitting in the middle of August or even early September and going, this isn't a playoff team, you know?
Right.
Like it took an 8-game winning streak for us to finally be like, okay, this is nice.
Hey, let me ask you this.
I don't know how sustainable it really is. Like, I'm afraid of the first game we lose because then it could be like one of like 4 or 5 in a row. Yeah. We're like, we're suddenly not doing well again.
So what would you take out from this Brewers series? They're going up against the Brewers. Last I saw, they were tied 2-2, but I had to turn the TV off.
3-game series?
I think it's a 3-game series. What record would you be satisfied coming out of this game? I mean, I'd like 2 out of 3, but would like not getting swept be good?
I mean, you definitely don't want to get swept. Your only real ground to cover would be to win the series, because even if you sweep the Brewers, like again, you know, people want to talk about like the Fangraphs playoff odds and things like that, but like statistically speaking, like they're probably not catching the Brewers.
Oh no,
so I don't think that's in their head of like, oh, we need to beat the Brewers because we need to win the division. Like, yeah, like slow your roll there, bud. You do need to win these games though, and you need to win.
Yeah, it's actually a 4-game series.
Who's pitching tonight for us?
Tonight it's John Lester, and the Cardinals had a 2-0 lead on Arenado's first inning 2-run home run, and then in the bottom of the second, Lester gave up back-to-back solo shots. And
that tracks.
They're currently in the bottom of the 4th right now, still tied 2-2. Yeah. It's actually a 4-game series. I just looked that up. Okay. So, like a split would be awesome.
Yeah, Absolutely. I mean, it's similar to how I felt going into the Dodgers series. I was like, if we can take two out of these 4 games, sold. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and go, if we don't win 3 out of 4, it's not good enough. I mean, here's the thing: we now have a 3-game lead in the wild card standings. I don't know who Cincinnati's playing coming up, but the likelihood of us continuing this winning streak and like sweeping Milwaukee into a 12-game winning streak is unlikely. It'd be super cool. I'd be super down for it. I really don't see that happening. You're not going to have Wainwright this series. You're going to have, or well, I guess you would in the last game because Hap started yesterday, right? Yeah. So I mean, you'll have Waino in the last game. So you almost want to put a check mark by that game and go, okay, we're probably okay here. We just got to put some runs up.
Mm-hmm.
Because Wainwright's still pitching like he's 27.
Yeah, which, injected into my veins. I love everything that Wainwright's doing. So I was looking at the schedule for the Reds. They have Pittsburgh. They have 3 in Pittsburgh, then 4 at Washington, and then 2 at then 2 against the White Sox, and then 3. They close out their season with 3 against Pittsburgh.
So it's safe to say that we're facing tougher opponents because we got Milwaukee and then we've got Chicago this weekend, don't we?
Yeah, we got Milwaukee, Chicago.
Gross.
Yeah,
fair, Chicago right now as a team isn't good, but it's still the Cubs.
It's the Cubs and it's the Cardinals.
Love to do? Just be a spoiler.
This is the same thing. Milwaukee. What is Milwaukee actually playing for at this point?
I don't know, just to guarantee winning the division because they haven't guaranteed it yet, but they would have to like essentially lose out the rest of the year while we win out the rest of the year, which would be, again, like we said, incredibly difficult and statistically improbable.
Yeah. So, not only
about
that,
statistical probabilities. Like, have you seen the Fangraphs, like playoff odds, like just a couple weeks ago before they went on?
It was like less than 2%, wasn't it?
And now it's like 73.4%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you know what this means? Your odds are stupid.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
that's just what it. That's just like the thing about odds and statistics, and my wife Terry could tell you all about that because she does statistics. But the numbers will tell you whatever you want as long as you torture them enough. So if you look at the right things, and that's why I like statistics for player performance, kind of gives you a measure of what they've done, but I don't like using statistics as a tool for arguing for or against a certain player, because if you use the right numbers, you can make any player seem great. And and that's the thing about a lot of baseball fans, and I would include myself in this list on Twitter, that they know enough about statistics to be dangerous, but not really really understand what it is that they're talking about or saying. Let's see. Chris, he said, statistics say, don't argue with Yachty on the dugout or you get DFA'd. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But statistics also say that if you have like a 2.2 ERA, that argument with Yachty isn't going to be as big a deal. So
I saw somebody. I think I saw somebody on Facebook that was talking about, it's like, oh yeah, that's what you get when you argue with Yachty, and it's just like, yeah, his 6.1 ERA certainly did play a factor in that.
Yeah,
you're like, hey, maybe it's just because he hasn't pitched well the entire year.
Yeah,
like, it is what it is.
So, it'd be nice to see the Cardinals basically hold their own against the Brewers. Like, this is what the Cardinals need to do to make the playoffs. They need to hold their own against the Brewers and then thump the Cubs. That's the best way to go forward, and that could very well put them in that second wild card spot. But let's just hypothetically speaking, let's say that the Cardinals make the playoffs in the second wild card spot. Would you rather them play the Dodgers or the Giants in that playoff game?
I mean, I think the Giants are this team this year that, for whatever reason, has had success when maybe they shouldn't have had as much success. Like, they've got a lot of guys on the pitching side of things that were like, where's this been in his 10-year career?
Yeah.
So
What?
I'm not as worried about the Giants. Plus, we've also played the Giants better.
We've played them very well this year.
Like, we've played the Giants way better than we played the Dodgers. Granted, I don't think we've played the Dodgers terribly.
No.
But the Dodgers lineup, the Dodgers pitching staff, like, it's tough to argue that on paper they are significantly better than San Francisco. The fact that San Francisco is still, like, leading the division is hilarious. It's really funny. If you go to MLB standings and you go to the expected win-loss, the Dodgers are like 8 games back of what their expected win-loss should be. I'm like, that's hilarious. The Cardinals are also like 5 games above their expected win-loss, which again is hilarious.
Yeah.
But basically, like, the Dodgers have slightly underperformed what most people thought, whereas the Giants have really overperformed. I would rather play the team that is overperformed because it's more likely that they'll come back down to earth as opposed to, like, the other way around. Like, I would expect the Dodgers to get into playoff mode and then all their guys are in sync and then they just start wrecking house.
So the Dodgers are 1 game behind San Francisco. I just looked that up.
Yeah.
Now, here's where I'm going to differ from you. In a 1-game playoff, I'd rather play the Dodgers.
Now,
and here's why.
I hope you're on the same. I hope you're in the same mindset as me because I was going to make my devil's advocate argument.
So
really
this is
similar to this.
This is my thought. You only have to beat the Dodgers once. So you just told me how good they were, and when you play a longer series, that's more chances that you're playing the same team that's better than you longer. Whereas in a 1-game series, you have a puncher's shot. Maybe their pitcher has a bad night or whatever, and then it doesn't matter how good their rotation is because you got that one guy. Maybe Max Scherzer comes out. Say if Max Scherzer's pitching that game, maybe Max Scherzer comes out and for whatever reason he doesn't have a good game, and you score 3-4 runs off of him, and your guy has a good game, then you're in. And then you're playing more games against what we consider a more inferior team. And so I would rather play San Francisco in a series than I would the Dodgers in the series, which means that I want the Dodgers in a wild card game. Also, Cardinals Devil Magic because that would just be fun.
But speaking of that, I was more going in terms of Devil Magic. I would how awesome would it be? Like I'm getting chills thinking about this because it's like, you know what this really would remind me of? Like just imagine, okay? I'm going to set the scene. Imagine, okay, the Dodgers, they're going to throw out Max Scherzer. And then the Cardinals, they're going to go to their guy this year. They're going to go with Adam Wainwright. You know what that reminds me of? Chris Carpenter versus Roy Halladay. And you know what that was
a game. That was I remember watching
it's like one of the best games I've ever seen.
Yeah, I remember watching that game.
Those are like anytime somebody ever brings up the fact that baseball is boring and then like nothing ever happens, like that's the game where I'm like, dude, watching a pitcher's duel like that is intense, man. It's easily one of the best games I've ever witnessed in my life. And you know how awesome it would be to have that, but now, and it's almost come full circle because Wainwright was on the sidelines during that 2011 season, and now he's the dude going up against another guy like Halladay, who's been like one of the best of this generation. Like, dude, it'd be written in the stars, man. Like, that would be the game that I'd be like, yo, if they win this game, they're winning the World Series.
Oh, absolutely. So I remember watching that game and watching, I think it was Furcal led off the game with a triple.
Yeah.
And then he scored. And I was like 1-0. And I thought to myself, there ain't no way this game is finishing 1-0. And then it did.
Sure enough, yeah.
Well, how about that?
It's like that. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but like I guess Carpenter said before the game, it's just like all I need is one, boys.
Yeah.
And they gave him one. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go to work. I'm like, bro, that's crazy.
That was also like, what was it? Carl Gunnarsson in the locker room. He's like, just I need one more shot, and then he won it in extra or in overtime in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Dude,
like, yes, sir.
I go back from time to time and I watch the highlights from that game, and like it pumps me up. I'm like, let's go. like that was
Yeah.
only like the NLDS, wasn't it? Like,
might have been the NLCS.
no, that was the NLDS because
It was the
five-game
DS.
series.
Yeah, who did we beat to get to the World Series in that
Oh,
year?
I don't remember.
Because it wasn't. You're right. It wasn't.
It was only a 5-game series. Because we beat Atlanta in the wild card game, and everyone was tripping balls because of the infield fly. But it's fine. Devil
Magic.
And then they beat
The Brewers.
Brewers. Okay,
That's right.
Cool.
I remember watching that with one of my friends, and like toward the end of the night when it was like pretty obvious the Brewers were going to lose the series, my friends started laughing at all the Brewers fans crying in the stands. And it's like, ordinarily I don't laugh at people crying, but I'll laugh at Brewers fans crying. So like, we talked about that game and how Rafael Furcal led off the game with a triple. And, Furcal was a shortstop, and that's been one thing that the Cardinals haven't had. Like, and you also had David Eckstein in 2006. You had outstanding shortstop play from those two World Series teams. And that's something that, and I don't want to crap on Paul DeJong because I think that he is a good player, but he hasn't been the player that he could be. And so, like you said here, that Sosa's been good, but he hasn't been great for the Cardinals at shortstop. And the question you asked is in the offseason, because the offseason's coming,
Yeah.
Can they just sit back and, wait? And are they going to roll with Sosa, or should they be aggressive? And if they should be aggressive, who's on your radar?
Literally anybody.
Literally anybody.
When you look at the shortstop class for this free agency, anyone in the top 5 is a more established player than what you have.
Yeah.
You cannot argue with me. I don't care. It's unfortunately, I'd love to believe that Sosa could amount to be more than what he currently is. It's very possible. But here's the thing with the Cardinals and shortstops as of late. It's always been flash in the pan guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's been Aledmus Diaz.
Yep.
Oh, he started off really good. Oh, he's not great defensively, but he's hitting the ball all right. That's not so bad. And now he's not hitting anymore. Hey, we got this rookie. We're going to call him up. Oh, his name's Paul DeJong. Oh, his first major league at bat, he hits a home run. Oh, he's got a lot of pop. Oh, look, he's a Gold Glove defender this year. This is crazy. And no, he's not really hitting it. His defense is kind of okay. Hey, Mundo, it's the same thing over and over again. Stop making it the same thing over and over again. Go out and do this free agent class and sign literally anybody. Trevor Story, I don't care. Carlos Correa, I don't care. Corey Seager, I don't care. Marcus Semien, I don't care. Do one of them. I don't care. Yeah. Keep Sosa, trade DeJong, do what you have to do. Get an established guy who's had multiple years of success. I like the idea of getting Story because of the Arenado connection. I think that could amplify both of their plays because they do know each other. They are friendly. That would be kind of cool. He's very similar profile to DeJong. He's got a high pop, fairly low average, decent glove kind of guy. So one could argue, do you want to spend $25 to $30 million when you've got arguably 1A already in your bench for significantly less? Or do you just spend the big money and get a guy like Carlos Correa or Corey Seager, who, again, has been an established major league player for years now?
Now, where's Seager at right now? You can afford to have
both your middle infield guys just be okay.
Yeah. Especially if your middle infielders are supposed to be vital parts of your offense, right? So you've got Tommy Edman. If
you're going to throw a guy like Tommy Edman leading off, he has to be able to hit. And he's hitting 250. That's fine. That's not great.
No.
He doesn't have the on-base percentage you want for a guy that's supposed to kickstart your lineup.
Right. But he has it in flashes, right? And I don't know. And I don't know. Is Seager at Los Angeles? Is he a Dodger?
Dodger, yeah.
Yeah. So the Dodgers are they going to be less apt to sign him since they have Trey Turner?
I would think so. I mean, unless they put one of them at second base, which would just be stupid.
Well, they've been doing that. They've been getting.
I mean,
I think Turner's been playing second base, but
I mean, whatever makes them work, man. Like, their entire team is loaded. Like,
Yeah.
you got 3 number ones, pretty much, and then you got pretty much your entire starting lineup. It could be a star on most other teams. Like, it's a tough team for sure. Like, the fact that they're not winning that division is shocking, but they're also, like, what is it, like 12 games over where the Cardinals are? So, like, still really, really good.
The fact that they're not winning the division is shocking only in the fact that it's not because of their play, it's because of the play of the Giants, that the Giants have played so well. That's really
I mean,
the
I
shock
could
in
argue that it's almost the play of everyone else in the division, too, because San Diego, like, let's be honest, San Diego has been a disappointment. Like,
Oh, they
went out and got everybody, and they're just playing mediocre ball. Granted, Tatis was out for a little while. A lot of the pitching staff has been kind of meh, but like,
Well,
you expected that division to be L.A. San Diego, not San Francisco L.A. Like,
right. And you know what I've noticed about Tatis is he seems to crack under the pressure. Like,
he's having his
he did
moments.
not play well against the Cardinals.
No.
And the other thing that shocked me, and I don't know if you saw this video. Did you see the video of him and
I
Machado's
I
in the
listened to it
screaming match?
about 10, 15 times, and it was hilarious.
Well, the
I
thing
never
that-
thought I would respect Machado, but I'm like, yeah, dude, he's 100% right.
Yeah, Machado's right. But the fact that
I'm
it's
like, oh,
Manny
boy.
Machado screaming, "It's not about you." I'm like,
yo,
who are you and what have you done with Manny Machado?
right? It's like, whoa,
But-
whoa, hold on. Who
But
are you,
one of the
Mr.
things-
Wholesome? Like,
Yeah. One of the things about Machado is that's something that he said that he's started to understand, that this game, he goes, when I was younger, he said, I didn't get that. It was about me. And I understand now that this game's a team game, which hats off, respect. You know, people grow, they become more mature. And it's cool to see him do that. And it tells me that maybe
this could just be a wake up call for Tatis. Like, it may take something like that where it's like he's in interviews talked about how he views Manny as a leader in the clubhouse, and you know, he goes to him for advice. And like, maybe there's only one person in that locker room that could do that to Tatis, and that was Manny Machado.
yeah, on that team, Manny Machado is the only one that has the I don't know what the right word is, the chutzpah, not chutzpah, but he has the
testicular fortitude.
Yeah, the weight behind what he says. You know, it's like whenever Chris Carpenter would say something, you listened and it was yes sir, no sir, all right sir. You know,
Yeah.
and we've talked about that before when this team was playing like Dookie. It's like if only they had like a Chris Carpenter be like, listen up, and everybody like, yep.
Like, man, I wish he was in the coaching staff, like in any aspect throughout the year.
Wouldn't
I
it
would
be
love
cool?
to have him just in the just in the dugout.
Yeah,
And as soon as you do something wrong, you just see him glaring at you. Like,
yeah.
that would be so great. I would love it.
And then we also had that, you know, we were talking a little bit about, you know, the fight between Machado and Tatis Jr. in the dugout.
It wasn't a fight.
Well, right. It was a shouting
wasn't a
match.
fight.
But
Machado established his ground and won.
right.
There was
The
no
Cardinals
fight.
the Cardinals also had something a bit like that, but it wasn't with a high profile player. It was Daniel Ponce de Leon and Yadier Molina got into it. And
Yeah,
I really
What
like
on
Ponce.
earth could Ponce have said?
I really like Ponce, but you don't argue with neck tattoos. And Yachty has a lot of them.
That's a different kind of hombre, man. Like, if you've got neck tattoos, like if you've got visible tattoos above your shoulder,
Yeah.
homeboy means business.
Yes.
Homeboy has experienced pain that you have not, and he is willing to kill you.
And my question was, because I saw them arguing, I didn't get to see the whole thing, and you didn't get any audio. Like, that was kind of what was unique about Machado and Tatis is like somebody had a phone that was like filming. It's like, oh my gosh, you can hear them. I don't know what they were saying to one another and what it was
like
about.
the guy at the very end. You guys on the same team?
Yes, I heard
That was
that.
the funniest thing ever.
So-
like, how great would it have been if you replied, like,
Yeah.
like, yes,
Yeah,
you've been,
yeah,
like,
we're-
we're on the
that's-
same
that's
uniform.
what-
Like,
That's what we're doing. This is what teammates do. We hold one another accountable. But so I don't know what went down between Yachty and Ponce. I don't know what that was about and what they were saying. But you know, hats off to Ollie Marmol jumping in between them because holy cow.
Like, I can't really feel all that bad for Ponce because it's like, hey, man, I have an idea. Throw a strike.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and it's been his problem, like, really throughout his career is his command has just not been that good. Like, when he's good, he's throwing strikes.
Yeah.
And this night in particular, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not convinced that, and see, that's what I wish they showed more on TV is your warm-up tosses, because while we're out there and we're at the game, you can see in between innings that they'll throw a couple from time to time. And I'm like, I would have loved to see his warm-up tosses because I guarantee you none of those were going over the plate.
Yeah.
That's what infuriates me. I love watching guys like before the game and they're throwing just absolute dimes, and then you get into the actual pitching and they're like all over the place. I'm like, hey man, like, well, just do what you were doing just a couple minutes ago. Like,
yeah,
just throw it over the plate. Like, what's the problem? Like, what are we doing here? Like, because I just look like I wish I would have gotten more video of that game, because I just went back and looked at like the strike zones and I'm like, I was in awe. I don't think I've ever been so enamored by an inability to throw strikes.
Yeah.
It was like that's hampered this team all year, is walks and just not being able to throw strikes and putting yourself in bad positions. Because, like, no offense to anybody on this roster, there's like 2 guys on this team that are legitimate strikeout guys. Everyone else is not. So you know what you have to do? You have to rely on inducing weak contact and letting your defense work behind you. And if your name isn't Gallegos, holy balls, throw a strike, my guy. Like,
yeah,
it's not your thing. Like, you're not a 12K per 9 guy.
Well,
None
and that
of you are. Throw
that
strikes.
used to be Dave Duncan's philosophy: pitch to contact. And like in all those years when they had really good teams, like the one year they had like 3 15-game winners or whatever on their team. They had guys, basically, they were sinker ballers, get the guys to hit ground balls, and they had a really good defensive infield. Guess what they have? A really good defensive infielder. Tommy Edman at second base, defensively, has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Edmundo Sosa has played really well.
So
Nolan Arenado is Nolan Arenado, so there's that. And then Paul Goldschmidt
on Twitter, and it was one of those tweets that kind of it annoyed me just slightly. Someone was like, "Yeah, you know what it took for the Cardinals to finally." It's like no. It was the Cardinals lead Major League Baseball in defensive runs saved, and you know why that is? Because they started Edmundo Sosa, and it's just like, okay, let's dial it back, okay. And like I pulled it up because this is the kind of guy I am. I'm like, no.
I'm gonna stop you right there.
It's like, yeah, sit down. If you look on, I believe I was on Fangraphs where I found this. Your defensive runs saved leaders for the Cardinals.
Harrison Bader.
Sosa was 4th or 5th, something like that. I think he was tied with Arenado, actually, for 4th. Number
Bader
1
was,
is Bader.
Yeah.
Number 1 is Bader by a significant amount.
Yeah.
18 defensive run saves. Number 2 is Tyler O'Neill with 11. And then I believe 3 and 4 were like Sosa and Arenado with 8.
Mm-hmm.
But then you want to know something crazy? This is going to blow your mind. Paul DeYoung is like 5th with 6 defensive runs saved. Like, that's one thing that really annoys me. It's just like, no. I agree with you. Sosa has been remarkable defensively, and he's hit.
Mm-hmm.
But like, let's stop. It's like people just unknowingly, they just want to like beat Paul DeYoung to death. I'm like, he's a very competent shortstop.
I think that people have this unfounded impression that a great defensive player makes all sorts of flashy plays, which that's the Ozzie Smith syndrome. You know what I'm saying? Ozzie Smith made plays that just made you go, huh? What? And, Nolan Arenado does the same thing.
Yeah.
But a really good defensive player makes hard defensive plays look easy. And you get that with Harrison Bader. I don't think people recognize how good Harrison Bader is defensively because of how
Harrison Bader reaches enough innings played. Like, he should very well be the
Gold Glove center field
winner for center field.
Yeah.
And Tyler O'Neill likely should be the Gold Glove winner in left. It's like, and so the funniest part about this tweet, like, I kind of circle back. It's like, oh yeah, it all started when they started playing Sosa full time, and I'm like, no, I'd argue that it's the fact that 2/3 of your defensive run saves comes from doink doink in the outfield. Like, it's not from your shortstop.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
If you stop and think about it, with the speed and ability of Harrison Bader and the speed and ability of Tyler O'Neill, even the balls that get down, they're not getting to the wall. Doubles for other outfield alignments, Harrison Bader and Tyler O'Neill can cut off and hold them to singles.
I don't know how many times I've seen the way he plays a ball where he knows he's not going to get it, but he plays it in a way where he gets to it very quickly and gets the ball in. And there's a lot of plays where it's like you see that off the bat, and a lot of outfielders play it, and the guy gets to second base. But Harrison Bader goes, okay, I'm not going to catch it, but I'm going to get right here. I'm going to get it, and I'm going to throw it in. He's not making it to second base.
Yeah.
Like, the way he just goes about his business in the outfield, I'm like, there's nobody else that does that.
Yeah. I mean, he's like Jim Edmonds with speed.
Oh.
So, the other thing is too,
and Bro Neal's Jim Edmonds on steroids.
Everybody in the outfield has a plus arm. Like, I didn't know how strong Dylan Carlson.
I think Carlson leads the outfield in assists.
He's got an absolute cannon. Bader
has an underrated arm too.
But kind of, to get back to what we were originally talking about with pitchers, you want your pitchers. You've got really good defense behind you. Pitch to contact and trust your guys to play defense.
You know what the on-base percentage is for a walk?
1,000%.
Do you know what an on-base percentage is on a ball hit and play?
Less than that.
30%? Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Again,
I was going to say that there's
I'm not a huge math guy, but statistically speaking, like, this makes sense in my brain.
You can't defend a walk. You can have every position player behind you be a Gold Glover, and if you walk them, there is nothing that they can do.
Like, no, he's on base. Like, he's a first now.
Yeah. So, anyway, between not throwing strikes and Patty had said this earlier, saying that Danny Mac said he thinks Yachty was saying something to the effect of "Don't show me up." I think I do remember Ponce shaking him off a couple times in a row, which has to stick in Yachty's craw. But he got DFA'd.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, if you're a pitcher out there and you don't think something's working,
yeah,
it's tough when your catcher is calling for it. Like, if you don't feel confident in that pitch, it's tough to go back to it.
Yeah,
especially if you're not having success with it. So I mean, yeah, like, granted, I'm not a major league pitcher. I feel like right now, if you'd ask me to go outside, warm up for a few minutes, and throw as hard as I can, I'd either rip my shoulder off or hit 64. Like, I'm not really there, but I feel like if I was put in that situation and I've got 3 pitches and one of them just ain't working and he keeps calling for it, I'm going to be like, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you seeing that I'm
it's not there.
Like, it ain't working, buddy.
And maybe that's something that
I wish there was more like that we could see from that to be like, okay, what was that about exactly? Because if that's what was the issue, if he was just like, yeah, man, like I just wasn't feeling that pitch.
And maybe that's why he was yelling, "I'm not." Maybe Yachty felt like he was showing him up, and maybe Ponce was like, "No, I definitely wasn't."
Saw me. I have no control, and I just wasn't having it.
I don't have that pitch. That pitch is not there for me tonight
right now.
Yeah. But maybe that's something that you can talk about on the mound. You can call him out and be like, look at your card, but be like, hey, man, that pitch is not, it doesn't feel good, and I don't.
Like, I didn't get to watch enough of that game to know, but did Yachty ever even go out there to talk to him? Because that's something you should do. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, if he's shaking you off a couple different times, be like, hey, what's going on? Because if it was that simple and he's just like, look, man, like, I just don't have it. That's a super easy conversation that we just had together on this podcast, and I'm not upset at you. Like,
no. Like
cool,
Brad.
Yeah, like, no, I feel you. Like,
it's like, Brad, throw the breaking ball.
For a strike yet. Like, but I figured you were due. Like, it could be so simple. Like, what are we doing here, guys?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, anyway, unfortunately, or fortunately, like I said before, I like Daniel Ponce de Leon. I love his story. I like his comeback after getting dusted. He wrote a really good book, and I recommend you guys get it and read it. I can't think of the title off the top of my head, but it was basically about his comeback after getting hit in the head and how he was able to do it. So I really recommend you guys get that book and give it a read, especially if you don't like reading. Reading sports books is a lot easier for a lot of our fans of the Usual Suspects. Give it a read, but again, Daniel Ponce de Leon got DFA'd today, and
you think he gets picked up anywhere? I
do. I think somebody can figure out what's going on with him. He's not a bad pitcher. He's just having control issues. So, somebody's going to work with John Gant, and they're going to get him figured out.
It's weird. Weirdly, I would not be shocked if he falls through the waiver wire and he just gets back to Memphis.
It's possible too.
It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Like, but I know you said something about Gant. Like, what's he done with Minnesota?
Not much.
Like, I haven't seen hardly anything about him. Granted, I haven't looked that much, but
I know Cardinals Twitter says that is of the mindset that they won the Hap trade. They won the trade with Hap and Gant. So, but that's Cardinals Twitter. So,
the thing is, like, it's really funny because over the last week, now that the Cardinals have been winning, everyone's just like, oh, yeah, maybe that happened. Lester trades weren't so bad after all. I'm like, if you look at the stats, it's still not great. Like,
right.
It's still not better or worse than what you had previously. It's just, it's a different type of pitcher. You have a veteran who's been there, done that, and it adds a different type of leadership in the clubhouse than a guy who's 25 and doesn't really know what he's doing. Like,
who's not leading the clubhouse.
Right. Like, these two guys are going out there,
you've got an all-star and a Cy Young candidate.
It's just like, hey, Wainwright, we understand that you can't talk to all 25 guys on the roster, so we got these other two dudes. We're going to split you guys up into groups, and then that way you can work with everyone, and you don't get so worn out. And I like it for those moves, and I like what they could possibly bring in a postseason role.
Yes.
Like, just because of the experience there, like, that's something, it's one of those X factors that you don't really, it's tough to quantify. Like, even if you don't have great postseason stats, the fact that you've been there.
Yeah.
Well, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when you get back to it, it kind of comes back.
Yeah.
The guys who are tough in the postseason are tough in the postseason for a reason. And Lester was tough in the postseason.
Yeah.
So one of the other things, I saw that O'Neill scored on a Yadier Molina signal, and Dakota says that it's 3-2 Cardinals right now, which is good. Cool. So some in-game developments there.
Speaking of Dakota, Dakota Hudson is supposedly coming back.
He's got a rehab assignment. He's got another rehab start. And then they would bring him back.
Talking about throwing him in like a long relief role. Why?
Just because he wouldn't be built up yet.
But, like, he's throwing like 75 pitches.
Yeah.
That's like 5 innings.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you start him?
I
throw him 5 innings.
I don't know, and I don't know what they're like.
I feel like I'm not being that unreasonable here.
Well, you know what though? That's the speculation, but
threw a complete game on like 87 pitches.
Yeah.
Like if he's a guy that pitches to contact though. Like really, I'm not even joking. Like he's a guy that pitches to contact,
and he's a sinker baller.
If he's throwing strikes and inducing contact, like hey man. 3 straight ground balls to shortstop is 3 pitches and 3 outs. Like let's get her going, boys. Like
75 pitches.
I hate the whole pitch count issue because it's like Like, I could very well hurt myself on pitch 30 or pitch 95.
Yeah, it has to do with
Like,
fatigue. As your muscles
I get
fatigue.
it, but he's building himself up already.
Yeah.
I do somewhat like the idea of piggybacking Flaherty and Hudson and giving both of them like 3 or 4 innings. That could be cool.
That could be lights out.
That would be awesome.
So, like, and as far as that goes, so I know that they said that Hudson has a rehab start, and then he could be back. The roster spot has opened up now with Ponce being DFA'd. So that to me is where...
Well, no, they've added Dixon, I think.
But what about the 40-man?
Oh, yeah, no idea.
You know, so that might open up the spot on the 40-man make room for Hudson to come back. So Hudson would be back, and then they're also talking about Flaherty being back maybe by the doubleheader, because I think he's got a bullpen session tomorrow, and if everything goes well there, that he would, he would be able to.
With the amount of injuries that Flaherty's dealt with this year, I would almost be more hesitant with him over Hudson.
Yeah. I think that they should bring Flaherty out of the bullpen.
I mean, I don't necessarily love that idea either. But again, if I'm going to use both of them, I really like that whole piggybacking situation. But using them both on the same day, and not like spreading it out. It's just like, all right, Dakota, we need you to go 4 innings. You get through 4 innings, we're going to throw Jack in there for 4. If he can give us 5 and close it out, awesome. If not, then we'll go to the bullpen.
Yeah.
Because right now, I think you've got a pretty decent 4. You've got Wainwright, you've got Lester, you've got Happ, and you've got Michaelis. Despite what everybody might be saying, like, his last start was pretty good, and I think. Do you really think Jack's gonna be okay with that? I don't know, Mom. Maybe like he's an adult, like he'll get over it. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say he's gonna have to be.
He has a choice. Like,
yeah, he doesn't want to get hurt,
or he doesn't pitch. Like,
yeah, he doesn't want to get hurt. You know, and if the training staff's telling you, hey, we can't start you because you're not in shape to be a starter.
More money in arbitration, he better do what the trainers tell him to do.
Yeah, injured pitchers don't get big paydays.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah,
unless they are able to hide their injury, like freaking Oakland hid with Mark Mulder. But whatever.
But Michaelis, his last start was pretty good. Like, he's another guy he relies on pitching to contact. His command hasn't been as good as it has in the last couple seasons, but it's still like better than most of our other guys. So I feel fairly confident with those 4. If you would tell me that if we were going into a 7-game series and our 5th option is a piggyback of Flaherty and Hudson, I'd be like, all right, could be worse. Or worst case scenario, you roll out Waino, Lester, Happ, Michaelis, and then use Flaherty and Hudson as piggybacks if any of those guys get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would also work. See, I should work in a front office. I'm super smart.
You've got it.
I figured it out. I'm so smart.
Yeah. So
that's that Cardinals insider. I must be paid by the front office. I wish. That sounds awesome.
Listen,
I know they have money.
Yeah, and like everybody says, well, you should put in an app. Well, I will. I'll apply. They won't look twice at it, but I'll apply.
Like, I've sent applications into the Cardinals for various jobs. I've not heard back. So
Aaron's like, I will rake the dirt around first base. Just hire me.
I applied for grounds crew.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago, but I definitely applied for grounds crew. I'm like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, you mean to tell me I get to watch like every home game?
You'd rock that red polo shirt and khaki pants.
Oh yeah.
Khaki shorts.
It's not that off base from what I wear anyway.
Yeah.
Like, sure. Let's go, boys.
All right, so we're rolling up on that hour mark. We're about 54 minutes now.
Yeah, I think
you
the
got
last
anything else
on the agenda was really just kind of going over the Milwaukee series, and which we've already somewhat touched on, and we've been kind of going back and forth with it. Like it's 3-2 St. Louis right now.
Right.
Awesome.
So tonight it was Leicester. Tomorrow it will be Woodford and Woodruff.
Ew.
Yeah.
Even though the last time we faced Woodruff, we remember what happened.
Mm-hmm. And Michaelis
450 feet later.
That was a ridiculous bomb. That was the one we were at, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we had said in one of our earlier podcasts, and I think we should wrap up with this. I'd said in one of our earlier podcasts, and we were talking about crowd size being down so low, and that was before we even went to that game, which I've been to 2 games this year, and I have paid $0 to go to those games. Now, I did buy a drink because I'm thirsty, but
the thing that I can't justify right now is paying for parking. If the Redbird Express was a thing, I would have gone to more games this year.
Yeah.
But I'm not paying $30 to park in St. Louis. I'm good, dog.
We talked about it's hard to justify spending the money to go see a mediocre team.
Yeah.
Do you feel differently now? Like, given the opportunity to buy tickets, would you buy tickets?
Again,
let's say parking's not an issue.
I'm the type of person that even in the last couple of years, I would have gone to games if given the opportunity. Again, I just my thing is I'm not parking in St. Louis. I'm not paying $30 to park and still have to walk a quarter mile just to get to the stadium when I can take this bus for $5 and it drops me off right there.
The Redbird Express,
that's legitimately my biggest issue. I'd have gone to more games this year, even when the team was kind of down, because there are certain things that I can still take away from. There are certain guys that are on the mound, even for opposing teams, that I'm this is something that I enjoy watching. So yes, I will go, even if the team itself is just okay.
Yeah.
But Redbird, right now, the energy in the ballpark right now is much, much better. The game that we went to, the game that we went to was one of the better games they played this season. But there was no one there. So the atmosphere was it was decent when the good times were happening, but it wasn't near as electric as what I've seen in years prior. I've seen some pretty fantastic games.
Yeah.
And right now, call it COVID, call it mediocre season.
It was mediocre ball. And I'll tell you why. Because the second game that I went to this year was the first game the Dodgers were in town. And Pujols sells tickets. Yeah. That place was packed, and he didn't even make it into the game.
Yeah.
So, I think more of it could be contributed to bad play and poor play. Maybe in a year, in a time when there's not a pandemic or whatever going on, people are more willing to spend money and go to a game because it's just a social event, something to do.
Well, yeah, I bring it to if you go to the if you look at the last 5 years and just look at Major League Baseball average attendance.
Yeah.
St. Louis doesn't have the biggest ballpark, but if you look at average attendance over the last 3 or 4 seasons, where were they? Top 3.
Oh yeah.
And if you look at this season, they're 8.
Yeah.
Which is still really good comparatively. But you know who else also exists? Miami and Tampa Bay. No one goes to those games.
Yeah.
So while the Cardinals still draw a crowd, it's down from what we've seen for them. And that comes down to the play. Pandemic aside, all the teams' average attendance is down.
Yeah, the pandemic
aren't still the number 2, number 3 team. They're all the way down to 7 or 8. And that's because fans are well, I would go, but the team's not that good.
Right. And then the other part of that is the pandemic will keep people home because they're I don't even want to risk it for, a team that's not playing well. But if you had a team that's playing well, they're well, maybe I might go to a game. So it's cool to see that. And I thought Adam Wainwright wrote a pretty cool letter about the fans and how awesome they were and how they had the place rocking. And I think that will I think if they keep playing well, I think you'll see the attendance numbers go up and they'll finish strong. But like Patty said, I think the front office should pay more attention to that. I think that they are. Yeah. I was talking to Kevin Wheeler on Friday. Did you like that name drop? I got to talk to Kevin Wheeler.
Nice.
And
did you mention that we have a podcast?
No, I did not. It was not appropriate, but I do have his email address. So
nice.
Listen. I just got this job, and I'm not going to do anything to screw it up. So I'm going to just focus on scheduling guests for Annie's show, and Kevin Wheeler, we're going to try to have him on weekly.
Nice.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy. I love talking to him.
Is it like kind of strictly like a sports segment, or does
it's a sports
go all over
segment.
the place? Nice.
Yeah, sports segment. St. Louis sports more specifically. But anyway, I was talking to him about this, and I forgot where I was going with this. Yeah, I completely lost my train of thought. Teams, attendance, he was one of the things that he did mention on the show, and you guys can go back. It was from Friday the 17th. You can go back and watch the podcast, and it'll be broken down. There's 3 hour podcasts. You can go back and look at it. He talked about, COVID kind of plays a role in it, but he goes, really, this is what he was saying. The biggest thing that fans can do to influence the front office is pay for tickets. And that's it. If the front office is going to look at the fans and pay attention to what the fans want, the fans not showing up for a bad product, they notice. Because St. Louis as a team, as a franchise, they really rely on those ticket sales for the bottom line. So they do notice that. And so like Patty says, I think the front office should pay more attention to that. Patty, I will say this 100%. I think that they do. They watch. So maybe they might they got money coming off the books this offseason and a great shortstop class. Hey, you might see them make a splash.
They can't afford not to.
Yeah.
I'm so mad.
And like this offseason too, and I think we'll close out with this, but I was looking at the rotation, theoretically the rotation for next year. You have Flaherty, who will be coming off an injury. So to me, that's a question mark because you don't know how bad or whatever it is. You'll have Hudson coming off of an injury. So again, that's kind of a question mark. You got Wainwright, who's an absolute stud McMuffin, right?
Who wants to play next year? And
who wants to play next year?
Needs to be St. Louis.
Listen, I think that he will be. I don't think that he'll sign for somebody else.
Hey, DeWitt, I understand that he's a little older. Give him $20 million. Just do it. Just give him $20 million. He's about to get Cy Young votes.
Yeah.
40.
So Wainwright, I
think
think Wainwright will be back. I think he'll be part of the rotation. Then you've got Michaelis, who's coming off an injury year, so he's still a little bit of a question mark.
I'm less upset about him only because he's at least ramping back up and has started a few games in a row. You're like, okay, you go into the rest of the season, possibly to the postseason. I feel better about him going into spring training. So
then the other two names that they mentioned were Reyes and Jordan Hicks, who are absolute question marks as starters because they've never started before. And what I said in this tweet
2 weeks ago, I would have loved that. Right now, I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
I would say one of the two, sure.
Yeah, I don't think you can use both of them. So my question is
that would be a terrible idea.
Yeah,
because
you've got it.
You'd have to sign like 3 bullpen arms.
Yeah. Well, my thing is this: I think that you need to get a pitcher. Now, does that mean you go out and get Max Scherzer? Well, how cool would that be?
Absolutely, you should do that.
If you get Max Scherzer, oh my gosh, that changes everything.
Listen, you re-sign Adam Wainwright, you get Max Scherzer, you go get Trevor Story, and you probably finish second to Milwaukee next year. But hey, you went out and you did something.
Yeah. And so let's say that Max Scherzer signs a huge, huge contract with LA and the Cardinals can't get him.
Ugh.
I feel like you kind of need to you still need to get a starting pitcher, even if it's not that top of the rotation guy, even if it's more of a middle rotation type of guy. I don't know what the free agent class looks like for starters. Well, I mean, you've got Happ and Lester, who if they don't have to be starters, or if they don't have to be top of the rotation guys, I would be fine bringing back again, kind of one of the two. That's why I said Happ or Lester. Now I know Lester's talked about retirement, so he may not even be on the table. So a guy like that, and I'm not sure who the starting pitching free agent class is, but maybe you can get a good solid 3-4 guy for not a lot of money.
Man, you know who would have been awesome to have right now?
Lance Lynn. Yeah.
Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah.
That's who I really want.
Yeah.
Like, I've said this a couple different times, but like it rings true now more than ever. Tyler O'Neill is playing like we wanted Ozuna to play like.
Mm-hmm.
Ozuna
I'd almost forgotten about Ozuna until you mentioned his name.
Yeah, no, remember we traded for him. We traded Sandy Alcantara, Mag Sierra, and that kid that ended up getting traded to Arizona too. Oh no, what's his name? But he's a stud too. Like
it's just what an incredible disappointment he was.
He was just okay.
Yeah, he was not.
He was fine. Like he wasn't bad, but like he was just okay. And then now you got Tyler O'Neill, and you're like, hey, remember when the Mets wanted him and Bader for Zach Wheeler? Dodged that bullet.
Yeah.
At least this season for Philadelphia, Zach Wheeler's been really good. I don't think I would trade them straight up right now.
Mm-mm.
Let alone add Bader in on top of it. No bueno. He's no.
Yeah, what a disaster that would have been with going to New York with Tyler O'Neill beating up on us. And Harrison Bader running.
Tyler O'Neill would have joined the Mafia had he gone to New York.
Yeah.
Like he would have been the muscle in the Mafia. Like my God, that would have been terrifying.
All right,
movies made about him.
Yeah. All right, so we don't have anything. I don't have anything else. Aaron, do you have anything else you want to touch on?
No. Any updates on the game?
I've got 2 messages saying Carp hit a double, one from Patty and one from Terry. So Carp hit a double. I don't know what that means, if any runs were scored.
He's like 2 for his last 41.
Carp scored. So there's your update.
4-2?
Yep.
Awesome.
I guess that'd be 4-2. I'm waiting for the update on my phone. So
it's got to be like the 6th inning by now then.
Yep. Yeah, because Hunter Strickland came in. It's in the 7th.
If you got 6 innings of 2-run out of Lester, that's solid against the Blues right now.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's it. I want to watch the end of this game. Hopefully we don't jinx them by going and watch the end of the game. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't liked or subscribed or done all the socials, please consider doing that. You can follow me at Range Brad. You can follow Aaron at Aaron M STL. Both of those are Twitter. You can also follow the podcast at Usual_Suspects on Twitter. Give us the follow. The podcast is very much centered on baseball and Cardinals baseball. So follow that one for sure. Follow mine for just all sorts of craziness, and then follow Aaron for fun.
I'm very sporadic with my tweets. I'll go days without even getting on Twitter.
Yeah,
Sometimes getting on Twitter, it just takes too much of my energy out of me, and I'm like, I'm good. Like, and I'm not a very positive person. Like, I feel like I'm a fairly like leveled down type of person, but on Twitter, I'm just like, good Lord, guys, like dial it back. Like, it's aggressive on Twitter sometimes, and sometimes I just don't feel like dealing with it. If you see me on Twitter, I'll go like 2 or 3 days where I'm like, I'm throwing absolute heaters out there, and then all of a sudden I'm dead for like 3 days.
So I like to live tweet Cardinals games, and I like to ride the emotional roller coaster that is a baseball game, because it's nice to be able to not have to keep a level head about something that really in the big scheme of things doesn't matter. I love watching baseball, but like I said, in the big scheme of things, it doesn't matter. So it's fun to do that. It's a great release. So if you want to go watch my live tweets with the game, that's fun too. And I like to use the GIFs.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, this is probably the worst time of year. And the reason why is college football. So
he complains about Arkansas.
On Saturdays, I'm going to soon begin losing my mind.
Yeah.
But the thing is that Arkansas right now is 3-0. They throttled Texas 40-21 and are now ranked 16th in the country, which is a mistake. They should not be ranked 16th. When they beat Texas and they moved to 20, I'm like, no. I'm like 24-25, maybe. I'm like, y'all moved us all the way to 20. Are you serious? I'm like, y'all just jinxed
Hey,
us. And then we
and-
beat Georgia Southern, and they moved us all the way to 16. I'm like, nah, this is this is not good. And we're about to go face Texas A&M, who I think is ranked 7.
Yeah.
Which is the start of like 4 games in a row against top 25 teams. I'm like, we're about to be 3-4, aren't we?
Yeah. So
this is about to be a really bad stretch for me. So if you see me on Saturdays and I look real pissed off, that's why.
So I'm being
Just be ready.
I'm being actively recruited. I'm looking for a college football team. I'm being actively recruited right now by Notre Dame fans and by Georgia fans.
No,
so if you have
join me in my misery.
No, I need to root for a team that's
Listen,
no.
Listen, no. Hear me out. Arkansas, I believe, plays at Mizzou in Columbia this year. We need to go, and you need to just experience it.
Listen, if I go to a Mizzou game, I'm rooting for Mizzou.
No, absolutely not. Don't do this to me.
Okay. So if you're watching on Periscope, or YouTube, you can find. Yeah, well, Periscope is Twitter. So if you're watching us on Twitter or Periscope, you can follow us on Facebook.com/Mutual Suspects. We have a Facebook page. Like, comment, and subscribe.
We're very popular.
And like I said before, we also have a YouTube page. So if you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, head on over to our YouTube page. Just go to YouTube, search Mutual Suspects, MUSIL, not musical, and give us a like or subscribe and turn on the notification bells, and that way you will get alerted when we go live. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We love talking to you about baseball. We love talking just in general, if you couldn't tell. And we'll catch you next time, which I'm not sure when that will be.
Like we've been trying to do Mondays, but it kind of just depends on schedule. Like Brad said, he just got a new job, so it's taken up a little bit of his time. I've had, I just got engaged not long ago, so planning wedding stuff has been very time consuming also. So it's just kind of hit and miss, but we're trying to keep it fairly consistent. Mondays, at least every other Monday.
Which is exactly why you need to turn on notifications, so that way when we do go live, you'll get an alert. All right, guys, thanks again for joining us. We love talking baseball with you. We'll catch you next time. I'm Brad.
And I'm Aaron.
And you've been watching The Mutual Suspects. Peace out, y'all.
Later.